Thank you for coming. This is another episode of Burn the Ship. I do appreciate you being here. Our goal of Burn the Ship is to connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business, which we have one of those here today. But yeah, we want to talk to people that have walked the walk and talked the talk and been through all of those things that we experience as small business owners. And we want to pass some of those traits and some of those strengths on to some of the people that want to kind of conquer that same journey. So hopefully I don't steal all your thunder. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and your business?
So I am Billie Hilliard, and I own Billie Hilliard Consultants. I would say I'm a kind of a serial entrepreneur because I have a few different businesses, but the branding and marketing firm that I have, Billie Hilliard Consultants, is kind of my main bread and butter.
Sure. So tell me a little bit of a story. Like, tell me kind of what your background is in and kind of how you decided on this route.
Okay. So I am naturally a creative. So all my life, like from a little kid, like I always did anything creative, especially working with my hands. So my first, I guess, entrepreneurial experience was actually in jewelry.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of like bead work and wire work. I'm originally from Houston, Texas, so I, would show my work, and it was sold in different boutiques there. And then fast forward, I moved to Atlanta and ended up coming across a property called the Goat Farm Art Center. It's like right there in the heart of Midtown Atlanta. And walked in being nosy, found this British blacksmith who was welding, and I'm just like, who are you? What are you doing? And he's like, hello, I'm a British blacksmith. And I had actually, it's funny enough, I was like a month away from flying to India because I wanted to take my jewelry to the next level, and I needed manufacturing. But then once meeting him, he was like, you know what, if you want to learn how to cast yourself, which I wanted to do, he's like, apprentice under me, I'll show you everything and you can do it all here. And so that's kind of how that happened.
Wow.
And from that, of course, working under him for a few years and just honing those skills, well, when it was time to actually, introduce the work, the pieces, the line to the world, I needed marketing, but no budget for it. So because I'm a creative naturally and I do have an eye, I just created my own branding. So from photography to the graphic design, everything, I self-taught. And then people just started, they're like, who's doing your marketing and branding? I'm like, I am. And that's just kind of how the marketing side
Sure.
Happened. I was doing it actually for friends that had small businesses, and then from word of mouth, it just kind of kept, getting bigger, and my clients were getting bigger.
Did you kind of fall in love with it when you started doing it for yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it's like when I was initially doing it, it was interesting because, like, I'll say one of the reasons why I decided to actually, have my own marketing firm was because when I was coming up and trying to do it myself, a lot of people that did marketing, they were like, yeah, figure it out yourself. Like, we paid our dues. We're not trying to help you. And so for me, I'm like, you know what? I want to do this because there are a lot of really talented people out here that have either amazing products or services, and they don't have the capital, But I come in and I'm like, you know what? You can be the Nike of whatever your brand or your niche is. Like, you should have imagery and representation that can compete with the big boys. And so that's kind of why I wanted to continue to do it and do it for other people. And then of course, like, once COVID hit and everyone was like moving everything online, I mean, for me, business catapulted. I ended up getting a major account with a 5-star hotel in West Africa.
Wow.
And that happened because I happened to be running the social media for a friend of mine who's, she's an international actress and singer.
Oh, nice.
She was born in Kenya, but she's British, and her husband happened to be running this project for this hotel. And so they're like, yeah, the lady that they hired, They flew her in from South Africa to do the marketing and branding for the hotel, but she's too busy shoo-shooing it with the guest,
Mm-hmm.
and she's dropping the ball. And they call me, one Saturday. I'm literally here, they're there. And she's like, yeah, I told them about you. I showed them, the work that you do for me. And they're like, get her on the phone. And I'm like, well, what can I do from here? I'm in Atlanta. You're in you're
Mm-hmm.
literally in West Africa. And through WhatsApp,
Mm.
I said, okay, who do we
It's
have?
like so big for
It's
international
amazing.
conversation
Yeah,
too.
and
And
that was
WhatsApp's insane. They're like in the payments, just from my perspective in the payments world, right? WhatsApp is the biggest like payment facilitator in the world by a lot.
and I can't believe it's still free. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what's
Yeah,
happening?
it's insane the amount of money
Yeah.
like foreign countries exchange with WhatsApp. It is
Oh
unbelievable.
my God. Like, I mean, and that was my first taste of actual like international anything, because I had been working with clients, just locally. So to be able to get on and, I was like, okay, who's on the ground? What do you need covered? They were having this big opening for the hotel that weekend. So they flew people from all over the world. They had all these influencers. And I'm like, okay, give the phone to whoever's on the ground. And I had them panning with their phone. I told them exactly how to shoot. I told them exactly what I needed. Send it back to me. I would like mix it and cut and edit and send it back out within hours. I didn't sleep the entire weekend because that was like an emergency, kind of like get us through the weekend. And then that Monday they were like, we don't want to let you go. Like, can we do some type of contract with you? And yeah, I mean, I worked with them for a few years, and like literally during the heart of COVID, like we won all these awards because like I was just like pulling content out of my ass,
Yeah.
because at some point,
It's
like
kinda what you have
when
to do
everything
sometimes,
like
yeah.
shut down, it was like, okay, I had to be creative about like, what are we going to push? How are we? And so we ended up coming up with like these initiatives to like, okay, food prepping, and like the locals could come to the hotel to like get food, and okay, social distance around the pool. But it was like, yeah, it was incredible. And of course, having that caliber of a client, so when it was time to just kind of refresh my website to have them there, then all these other clients and actual like real companies, bigger companies started kind of rolling in, and it was like, wow.
Sure. Well, it seems like, just from my perspective, you have a knack for kind of developing skills, right? Of just kind of grabbing onto something and working with it until you figure it out.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're a very diligent worker because you don't get those type of contracts without very, very consistently being who you are.
Yeah.
What are things like today? Are you still working with the larger brands, and you're obviously the word of mouth has probably continued to permeate that market for you?
I will say though, it's been interesting, and this is kind of like my little warning also to a lot of either new entrepreneurs. I know that a lot of times people will say, oh, take this big leap, leave your job, and this is the way it needs to be, and da da da. And look, I've been an entrepreneur for like over 17 years now, and it definitely has its ebbs and flows. And so if you know for sure that you cannot work for someone else, you need to be in an environment where this is your thing, then you definitely need to make sure that you don't just have one business, that's just your one thing. You need to be somewhat of a serial entrepreneur, or you need to be like, investing in other things that are going to kind of bring you some type of income. Because I will say, during COVID, while a lot of people were, losing their jobs and struggling, for me, it was the most money I've ever made in my life. Right. But I ran into, it was a big lesson for me too, because I wouldn't say no to anyone. Like I just kept taking on the next client.
Sure.
And you can also bite off more than you can chew. I mean, literally, I wasn't really sleeping. Like I was just working around the clock. And then when you're sleep deprived, you can kind of, like you're not working at your best. Yeah. But, I got through it. I was able to work with, a few interns that would kind of come in. But again, with that, it's like you're spending a lot of time.
Quality control.
Yeah. and training and finding, okay, who can I allow to, take on this client. And I'll say since this past year has been the toughest because of the economy. So a lot of it'll be the first thing that companies will cut.
Sure.
Will be
The branding and marketing side.
because they feel like, okay, well, we've kind of gotten to a place where, now we're kind of known, we can kind of coast on the work that you have done. And so, like, they'll either pull back. Like, I do tiers with clients, or I'll do, like, just a custom kind of package for them depending on what they need. So I have seen, like, where they're like, so you have to just be prepared
Sure.
for that.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to talking about being diverse as well. Is being able to do not only a diverse group of skills, but also being diverse just within your own workplace, because we kind of do the same thing. Like here's a good example, right? During COVID, we saw credit card processors go out of business while we also were doing the most business that we have ever done. Exact same type of companies as ours, and the only difference is where they hunt, because they had a lot of hotel clients or hospitality clients. They were all about restaurants and selling restaurant technology. Well, like, those industries took massive hits. They were probably down 85% in revenue for,
like
four months or so,
Non-existent,
especially people that we know in California that were selling payment processing to these large restaurant groups. Like, it was months and months and months before they could continue to supplement their income with what they already had existing. It was very, very difficult. So being diverse and being able to do different stuff matters. And I feel like it's a little bit harder to cut ties with you because of some of this, the diverse set of skills that you have, because obviously on the video side of things, the graphic design side of things, just that natural eye for marketing and branding. All of that is very, very vital to the lifeblood of your business. And like, I had a guy give me a really good example. Actually, this was from Big Brother. Have you ever seen Big Brother, the TV show? So, like, I was watching Big Brother. My wife's a huge Big Brother fan, right? And I listen to it, but, like, I just pick up, like, on the really good parts, you know what I mean? And so some of it sticks out to me more than others. And he told this other guy, he said, you never want the house to get used to, like, you never want them to feel what it's like to not have you there. You know what I mean? And, like, I grabbed onto that over the last, like, year or two in my business, because, like, I never want the people that I work with to know what it feels like to not work with me. You know what I mean? Like, that's a valuable thing. So you finding ways to bring value to your clients and all those things is super valuable and difficult. So I commend you.
And that's why, like, I realized too, that, like, I have, like, if you go to the site, it's like, I like to stay away from packaging. So what I usually do is, like, if I'm talking to a new or potential client, like, I'll tell them, okay, let me just kind of give you these 3 tiers of kind of like what you will get or what I do for this budget, but there's such a range of things that I offer. And I find too, like, where a client is like, okay, yeah, I know I used to, spend crazy amounts with you every month over, like, this, huge array of things. Okay, now let's start to kind of, all right, you know what, I think I might a la carte it a little bit more. So, because they're always like, oh my God, I'm, like, struggling right now financially, but I really need you. So so it's a good problem,
Sure,
to have. And then also too, like, don't even get me on, like, AI. And I'll say, like, for the past couple of months, I've been, like, struggling with it, because I'm like, okay, it puts a lot of people out of business. But, just like with the internet or anything else or any technology that's really just, like, changed the world for us, it's like you got to either get on that train or not. And, there's so much, like, where people can use it for the wrong reasons. But it's like, you know what? I'm going to use it for good. And, and now that's kind of like where I am too, like, just, like, mastering it in the way that makes things more efficient for me and, outputs and for my clients.
Look, there's always going to be a way to use stuff for wrong whatever it is.
Yeah.
AI is really, really cool, and it's not going to replace your industry. It's not, because AI doesn't have the eye. You know,
Right.
it doesn't have the ability to. You as your job is really kind of like an interpreter. You know what I mean? As people describe to you who they are and what they stand for and what their brand should be, and then you respond by making that an image or a
Right.
video or whatever it is.
Yeah.
AI is not going to be able to do that.
Yeah,
It's going to be able
I
to do
feel,
beautiful,
yeah,
eloquent things
yeah,
graphically. It's going to be able to render video. It's going to be able to write applications. I mean, it's going to be able to do amazing things, but there's a human element that it's hard to quantify.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. It's totally like
really,
it's
really
the
hard
soul.
to quantify.
You know, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, when I sit with a client, and you know, and from learning about, you know, just taking on too much, now I'm very picky about who I do work with. Like I now I work with people that align with my values, you know, and that's the beauty of, you know, having your own business. You can actually choose to
Yeah.
who you work with, right? But yeah, like I can sit with someone for an hour. They tell me about their business, you know, what their goals are, what their mission, why they're doing it, their story. And now I believe like this is what my actual gift is. You know, it's like, okay, because as someone's telling me who they are or what their business is, I literally like feel it.
Yeah.
And so it's very spiritual for me.
Sure.
And so it's like, okay, so you've just given me this, so now I'm gonna just like really try to present you in the most authentic way, you know,
Sure.
to who you are, what your story is, and your brand is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Period. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you're in any danger. What would you say was the most difficult part beyond the kind of learning how to allocate the time?
That was a bit, okay, structuring, like processes and protocols. This is something that, and so in the midst of being a grown, you know, woman, entrepreneur, have 2 daughters, you know, I went back to school
Oh, wow.
and got a business degree.
It's so hard.
Oh my God. It's
My
like
wife's in the process of it right now. It's so hard.
literally like almost killed me. And I mean, like the year I was finishing up was during COVID, like where I was the busiest, and I literally was like, I'm literally going to lose my mind. But I will say it just validated my capacity
Sure.
to like learn and really take on, like I can work so well under pressure. But yeah, I would say during that time was when I really realized that I should have taken the time out to actually structure my business. Like,
Sure.
you know, because it's like when you start off, you're always usually starting off, it's yourself. You're like the one man show, right? And then because you get so good at how you do things, like I have processes that are kind of hard to explain to someone especially when I'm editing, because like I'll layer, like I might start something in one app or program, get what I need from there, open it up in something else. So my process is kind of interesting and it's mine. So teaching that to someone else, or even having the time to teach that to someone else, is very difficult. But it's like it's something that's very necessary to do.
For sure.
Because it also gives you that room to be able to grow too as a business.
And it's also very stressful.
Yeah.
Because that is where we usually like come into the fold. You know what I mean? Is like that people are really like renovating their processes, and they're looking at what they're paying for their payment processing side of things. And it is a super stressful time. It is so important to the longevity of your business to be able to like audit your processes.
Yeah, like sometimes you actually
It's so
really
difficult.
like you really actually have to almost shut down
Yeah.
for like a month
Yeah.
to
Because
get
you
that
got to
done.
foundationally look at what it is you do on a day-to-day basis.
Exactly.
and you have to have time to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard when you're doing everything inside the day to day. So
that would be it.
So what are you looking for? Where is your business going over, this next year, the rest of this year, the next year, the next 3 years?
Yeah.
What does it look like?
I definitely want to bring on more people. I mean, because again, like you kind of hit like a ceiling of how you can grow. I definitely want to personally explore more of like on the AI side, because I know that's just where the future is going.
Yeah, it is.
And and then that also allows me the ability to take on really more so those bigger like corporation type clients. Like
you're looking for those 500 plus employee type companies.
Like I used to, feel like, oh, I want the little people like me, but it's like I want to take on those, like have a few of those, but really in order to really grow and do the things that I want to be able to
you got to be on that national stage. Your industry is very cool because there's no like awards or anything like that for my industry. Your industry has those. And it's really, really cool. Have you gotten any like awards or anything like that?
Gosh, it's so crazy. Like I don't even focus on it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
I feel like no one that ever wins them ever does.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I've had, of course, I get interviewed and, and all that. Like I never even think about it at all. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But I mean,
well, I mean, I don't know if you have to ask to be like, reviewed.
Yeah.
But I think what you do is really cool. You know what I mean? And I think that there are people that listen to it. Hold on, let me do this really quick. Sorry. It's just all the audio from like the computer. Like if I play a YouTube video, it'll show it. But I know it's like ringing in there. But no, yeah, I think what you do is really, really cool. I mean, you're working on a very national stage. You're working across continents. You're working with large companies, and I don't know who has to get their eyes on that for it to be, a thing. But I would be surprised if you don't find yourself being nominated for some of that stuff.
That'd be great.
Well, the way that we always end the podcast here, right, is have you heard the illusion burn the ship before? Have you heard the phrase? So Cortez lands in Central America, and before they go give everybody smallpox, he makes everybody burn the ship, right? So it's like that light switch moment where you're going all in on your business. And I kind of want you to just sum up for me what it feels like, emotionally and throughout your life, kind of the impact that it's had on you for finally making that decision to kind of go all in on your business.
It's been, I think that in being an entrepreneur and taking the leap, I feel as though I haven't betrayed myself. I've, contrary to what family, friends, have questioned over the years, one thing, that they all, give me credit for, they're just like, you really have grit and heart,
stuck it out.
Yeah, no matter what. Of course, at times you'll always have that where you're like, oh my God, did I make the right decision? But I know that when I look back on my life, like I know that I've actually lived it, and I wasn't afraid to just live it out. And so I mean, I think that I wish that for everyone. And of course, entrepreneurship isn't for everyone, but whatever it is, that thing that allows you to authentically express yourself, you got to do it, because you don't want to be this old man, old woman, having
wondering
all these what ifs and man, what could have happened if I had, because I always, at the end of the day, you can go get a job.
Yeah.
But go on and leap while you can.
Yeah, while you can, and while you don't have a lot to lose. You know, that's a lot of people that we're talking about, or talking to rather behind the camera. You don't have a lot to lose. My little brother just graduated college. Like, you don't get used to the money because you do not have a lot to lose right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, go struggle.
Yeah, yeah,
and a lot comes from it.
yeah,
And you've been an awesome example of that. How do people find you if they want to do some business with you, buy
yeah,
something from you,
yeah.
pick your brain?
Yeah. So on Instagram, I'm at Billie_Hilliard, and it's Hilliard Hilliard. And then my website for any type of marketing branding is BillieHilliardConsultants.com.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, I hope that we can connect you with some people. If you look through Burn the Ship and you find anybody in general that you want to be connected with in my sphere, please let me know. I'm more
Okay.
than happy to connect them with
Wonderful.
you. This has been a good conversation. I do appreciate you coming out. And I'll get this edited. I'll get it out to the world, and I'll give it to you as well. You can do whatever you
Perfect.
want with it.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Burn the Ship.